One morning I stood on my porch staring out at what used to be my family's pasture, and instead of open grass, I saw chaos. Neon tents littered the field, smoke from campfires drifted too close to my hay barn. Kids were chasing my chickens like it was a petting zoo, and Karen, the HOA president, with her blonde bob and pastel cardigan, was marching around with a whistle and a clipboard declaring my land the community campsite. That was the moment I realized something ugly. They had stolen my farm right out from under me. I was born on that farm. My earliest memories are of running barefoot through dew-soaked grass, following my dad as he fixed fences, or listening to my grandfather tell me how he carved this land out of wild brush after the war. Every rock, every fence post, every ridge of soil was part of my family's story. To outsiders, it might look like just acres of green fields. But to me, it was home history, blood, sweat, and dignity. So when the HOA started creeping closer, paving roads right up to my fence, planting signs for community walking trails near my boundary, I felt it deep in my bones. But I let it slide, thinking maybe it was sloppy planning. I should have known better. Then came Karen. You've probably met her type. The kind of woman who becomes HOA president not because she's smart, but because she's loud enough to scare everyone else quiet. She wore pastel sweaters, carried that damn clipboard everywhere, and had a voice sharp enough to strip paint off a barn door. The first time she strolled up to my property line, she tilted her head and said, "Imagine the property value boost if this land became a recreational zone." I laughed in her face. Big mistake, because she wasn't joking. One morning, coffee mug in hand, I saw the first tent. A family of 4 was frying sausages right in the middle of my pasture. I asked what the hell they were doing, and the dad smiled and said, "Karen told us this is the new community campsite." My stomach dropped. I stormed straight to Karen's house. She opened the door, sipping sparkling water like she was royalty, and said, "Oh, don't be so dramatic. The neighborhood doesn't have space, and your farm is perfect. You should be honored." Honored. As if I should thank her for letting strangers trample my land dump trash and light fires yards away from my barn. And then she leaned in, eyes glittering, and whispered, "You can't stop progress. The HOA has spoken." It only got worse. At the next HOA meeting, I walked in and saw Karen glowing like she'd just discovered electricity. She announced her vision to the board, a community campsite. People actually applauded. Then she turned to the map on the wall, circled my farm in red, and said, "The perfect location is right here." Every head turned to me. I stood up furious and shouted, "That's my land, my private farm. You can't just—" And she cut me off with a laugh. "Don't be so territorial. Property lines are flexible. Why let all that land sit empty when our community needs it?" The room murmured in approval. And then she said the line that made my blood boil. "If he refuses, we'll classify it as community property. After all, one man shouldn't be allowed to hoard land when so many could enjoy it." Hoard. That's what she called decades of my family's sweat and labor. The very next week, cars started rolling in. By noon, my pasture looked like a state fair. Litter everywhere, fences, broken kids carving initials into my apple trees. And Karen strutted around in a sundress with her whistle telling families where to pitch tents like she was running summer camp. I confronted her, shouting over the noise, "This ends today." She smirked, lowered her sunglasses, and said, "You don't get to decide that anymore. Majority rules. The HOA has spoken." Then she leaned close and whispered, "You're outnumbered. Who do you think people will believe, you or us?" For the first time in my life, I felt powerless on my own land. I called the sheriff. He told me it was a civil dispute. I drove to the county courthouse. They shrugged and told me to file paperwork that would take months. I even called a lawyer who told me Karen was good at bending rules, muddying the waters. Every door I knocked on slammed in my face. And that night, as I sat at my kitchen table staring at the flyers Karen had printed, HOA Family Campground Festival at the community pasture formerly known as the farm, I felt something break inside me. I wondered if maybe I was wrong. Maybe I should just give up, let them have it, stop fighting a battle I couldn't win. But then I remembered my father's words. "A man's land is like his skin. When someone trespasses, you feel it in your bones. And I felt it. Every stomped crop, every spooked animal, every piece of trash on my soil, it was in my bones. That's when I realized if the system wouldn't protect me, I'd have to protect myself. And my land had a secret weapon one Karen didn't know about. Underneath those fields ran an old sewage system built by my grandfather decades ago. Crude but still functional. And as Karen planned her big camping festival, I was planning something else entirely. The day of the festival came like a nightmare. Cars jammed the road, music blared from speakers, smoke poured from grills set up on my alfalfa. Someone had even rented a bounce house and dumped it right on my field. And Karen. She wore a glittery sash that read, "Camp Director," and blew her whistle like she was leading a parade. Standing on stage with a microphone, she announced, "Today marks a new chapter for our community, thanks to the vision of your HOA and the generosity of this farm generosity." My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. I marched up loud enough for everyone to hear and said, "You're trespassing. You're destroying my farm. You're lying to these people." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Karen pressed a hand to her chest and faked shock. "Why, I've done nothing but create a safe, wholesome event. This land was wasted. You should thank me for giving it purpose." Then she leaned close, her voice dripping with venom. "Face it, farmer. You can't win. You're just one man." And I smiled, because she had no idea what was coming. I waited until nightfall. The music faded, kids snored in their tents, and the field was quiet again. I walked to the old rusted hatch hidden by the barn, the one only I knew about. My hands trembled as I lifted it open. For a moment I hesitated. This wasn't who I was. But then I thought of Karen's smug face, the word hoard, the laughter of neighbors who treated me like the villain on my own land. And I knew. Enough was enough. What happened next was quick and ugly. One moment the campers were dreaming of marshmallows. The next, a foul tide was sweeping across the field. Tents sagged and collapsed, campfires hissed out. Children screamed, adults slipped in the muck, trying to drag their belongings out of the rising filth. The smell hit like a wall, thick, choking, unforgettable. And Karen, oh, I'll never forget Karen. She shrieked, clutching her clipboard as if it could save her, her designer sneakers sinking deeper into the mess. Her sash clung to her face, glitter dripping into her mascara. "Who did this?" she screamed, eyes wild, but no one listened. Families were scrambling, shoving, desperate to escape. Phones came out recording everything, uploading it faster than she could spin a story. Within an hour, flashing lights lined the road. Health inspectors, sheriff's deputies, reporters, they all showed up. Karen tried to rally her narrative, yelling that it was sabotage, terrorism, anything but her fault. But the footage told the truth. The county fined the HOA thousands for health violations and fraudulent paperwork. Neighbors who had once applauded her now turned on her, demanding answers, calling her reckless, selfish, a fraud. At the next meeting, they forced her to resign. Someone even left a sticky note on her chair that read, "Queen of Crap," and me. I stood on my porch watching the field slowly recover my animals. Calm again, the tents gone. I didn't cheer. I didn't celebrate. Because victory didn't feel clean, it felt necessary. Boundaries matter. If you don't defend them, someone like Karen will erase them one smug smile at a time.